Right, so here's a little dummy head I made, right? So this is just an upright post. I've taken some thick offcuts of BJJ mat, put them together so I've got about penetration depth of the blade, right? And taped them to that. Like I said, this is a mannequin head from a hair salon, so it's a male mannequin head. Now, this kind of setup's really easy to get together. All you've got to pay for really is the head. Everything else can be discarded and made and duct tape. For training weapons, even this one, which is solid, this should be okay. Obviously stubbies, this will be okay. Longevity, you can practice on this kind of target for always, and it will stand up, right? If you start using something pointier, so a hard trainer like this, again only aluminium, hard plastic with a point, then you will start to penetrate eventually, right? And of course, if you use live tools, live blades, you will penetrate it immediately. And that's when each training session is just going to cost you a roll of tape, right? But you can get good feedback. One thing I'd make sure that you do is that you know that the body structure is of dense foam. That's all it is. There's nothing unforgiving that's hard through the middle of that will cause you to slide down on a knife, right? What I would recommend when you start the live sort of blade tool work is start with a screwdriver. Then if you do get any of that, it's not a drama, right? But get the feeling of shoving that into something. Get a feel of what that feels like, right? So for that, this kind of done is good. If you start doing that to the face of this, then you're going to mutilate it very quickly, and then you're going to have to put tape on its face. So maybe you just work with a trainer. So here, I'm just going to work with this pointy trainer. Here. And I can still get the depth of penetration just with the trainer, but there'll be some longevity to it with that, right? If I start using live blade test, as I probably will, then obviously I'm going to have to use the tape, right? Conversely, this one here is great for impact striking work, it's great for trainers, and it's predominantly for live blade work, right? So I know the structural integrity of it. It's got groin, it's got a body, it's got shoulders, it's got a neck, it's got a head. It's a little bit out of shape now, it's got a bit of a long neck. But you'll get a good feel of impact. So I'm going to test a variety of little items on this one today. Right, here's some tools that I'm going to look at on this dummy test, right? So first of all, point. So I'm going to have a go with this window breaker. See how that feels. This pry bar. Then I'm going to go into penetration. So this pencil, which is one metal piece. This screwdriver, which I talked about before, from Stanley. Common screwdriver stands up the best, very ergonomic. This piece of bar, sharpened piece of bamboo, and just a broken stick. It's got a sharp point. Then I'm going to go to blade work. Alright, so I'm just going to use a kitchen knife. I'm going to use a nice, this blade, Alvera style. And then I'm going to use a UK recognised, if you like, friendly folder, right? Which you can only use in one specific way, so it doesn't close on your hand. So I'm going to look at those. And this is the dummy we're going to use. Right, some point tools first. Sharpened bamboo, sharp piece of stick, solidified pencil, piece of bar, sharpened that point, and screwdriver. Screwdriver always stands up, right? So screwdriver, the most ergonomic. Let's try the stick. straight in, no fucking about. Oh, and it broke off in the wound. Typical prison style. This bamboo. Stands up. Not a fan of pens, pencils. We'll work in a jam, soft tissue target. This is probably more arduous than it could stand. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, straight in. Yes, depends how determined you are. And now, of course, spiked a bit of bar. It's what they used to reinforce concrete, and I just corded it and taped it. So not the sort of thing you would carry, but understand how to make this kind of thing so you have good understanding of improvised tools. Point test stands up so far. Right, second test. Again, point. So this little detachable screwdriver, both ends. Goes in there. From Stanley. This window breaker stroke pocket stick. Borderline penetration. And this pry bar, it's got no sharp edge but enough point. It's a nice one. So, UK spec, 3 inches. Folding spike. There's a folding knife on it. And there's this bottle opener type structure. So, what your granddad would have had. Old British Army knife. But this kind of structure obviously doesn't lock out, right? So you'd use it in a circular ripping fashion. Point test continued, right? Pocket stick. So you're getting a good solid shot. Take the eye socket for sure. This isn't penetrating neck tissue, I wouldn't have thought. It's going through here. Gonna break ribs for sure. So, point impactive, borderline point penetration. Now point penetrative. But there it is. So going in all right, driving in. How many times are you going to use it? You know, just a spike into the face, stun and run kind of tactic. That's where that belongs. Pry bar. So it's got a window breaker on the front, so I can punch with this. I'm more interested in the penetrative part. Stands up. Granddad's knife. Bottle opener works good. Spike. So I'm selecting a different part each time. So first of all, for any naysayers that say, why are you practicing blade work? Why are you practicing with screwdrivers and knives on a dummy to penetrate, to feel what it feels like? Why would you do that? Well, my answer to you is you need to know how weapons work. You need to know in order how to deal with them if they're employed against you. You need to, if you want to defeat a virus, you need to be the antivirus. And the only way that's going to be is you need to learn how weapons work. So those of you that think training with weapons is only for, or carrying weapons or using weapons is only for the nefarious, that's exactly what makes you the best fucking victim, right? If you want to deal with dark, you've got to know how dark works. So from a combative perspective, you should have very good unarmed skills. You should know how to use point and edge weapons. You should know how to use blunt force trauma tools, and you should know how to shoot, right? You should also know how to use the environment around you, walls, corners, edges, points, stairwells, stairs, traffic. You will need to know how to use these things to your advantage, because understand your enemy knows, right? So you should learn weapon systems on every level. At no point am I telling you to carry anything at all that the country that you live in forbids you from having on you. Absolutely not. I am telling you to learn how they work, that's all, right? If, however, you do live in a country or a state that recognises the need for utility tools and purpose of self-protection also, then kudos to you, you're very, very fortunate. But you should absolutely know on all levels how such tools work. We are tool-bearing animals, and nobody goes to war unarmed. You need to know how to use force multipliers that are not tools or not weapons by design, but have similar attributes that could be employed. An act of sheer desperation that you can't avoid, you can't escape, you can't de-escalate. All you can do is mitigate not getting killed. Extreme threat disparity, you're facing multiple armed assailants, you need a force multiplier, so you need to know how they work. Okay, point and edge. Now, as soon as you start using edge tools, nice by design, that's when you're going to trash your dummy, right? It's going to get ripped up quite quick. So you will have at some point need to replace some of the stuff that gives it substance. So matting, whatever else you used, if you look at the earlier tutorial that I showed you, but you will need a roller tape every time you practice, right? So here, it's got a small fruit knife, small fixed blade, UK folder, and an Alvira. Right. This one will do the most damage. This is a ripping knife, so I'm going to save it. So normal fruit knife, full tang. Going in every shot. Clearly going to create lethal damage. Small fixed blade. Again, does what it's supposed to do, right? Now this type of tool, is thought to fold on you if you use it in the primary way a knife would be used, and that would be the case, unless you kept it blade edge up. In which case now when you stab with it, you use small ripping motions that go in and out, creating a large laceration. Groin, femoral target, context dictating content, would be in that grip. Personally, this grip would be better. Reverse grip, small arcing motions, just literally picking at the target, just like so, just to create a non-lethal injury to the eye or to the face. I believe this is the way that earlier okapis were employed by some of the South African gangsters of the day. There was a model of the okapi that didn't lock out, and they would use them in this picking motion, picking or small circular shots, like so. Yeah, they use it. The Alvira. Yeah. So you see, open the face, there's the Elvira. Everything else is penetrated, all stood up to the test, but you can see, gets mutilated. You might get another session out of that for sure, before we need some more tape. But for the weapons that we tested, really proves the point of how important grip is, because if you hit something of structural integrity, it's so different to air. So if you do use the live blades on you, I don't tend to use live blades for my students. You know, if they choose to do it on their own time, it's up to them. I wouldn't recommend free flow practice with a live blade. People cut themselves all the time. But if you want to test structural integrity and your grip, then something like this with a live blade is essential. But make sure that your hands are dry. You know, I mean, maybe the first couple of times you get some weightlifting chalk, climbing chalk, so you're proper dry and you've got a good grip and you get a feel of where you need to be. And then of course, you know, you're not always carrying that kind of thing with you. So practicing every day, but make sure your hands are dry. If you use a screwdriver or something like that, it's no problem. But if you use a blade, you don't want to ride down it and cut tendons. That's not funny. But yeah, stands up, you need to get a feel for those kind of things. Right, so when I was talking about the type of the Okapi blade that didn't lock out, it would have been something like this, right? So this is that kind of Okapi shape, but this one doesn't lock out. And this one is a Pradle, and then I found it in an antique shop. Right. I actually added the ring, it didn't have the ring, but this would be the kind of design that we're talking about in terms of the version of the Okapi that didn't lock. And this would of course also apply to a UK spec tool, right? So you would use it in a picking motion in a reverse grip. So I'm going to use it on this dummy because it's just a point, it's not got a sharp blade. And here, now I'm going in about 3 centimeters and I'm hooking back. So this is going to give you a bad fucking day, but I'm working with the mechanism. If I wanted to take the force higher, it would pick at the neck. Here. Downward hooking circular motions will be implemented for that. I'm going to find that fucking cockerel. So all in all, good feedback session, right? With a variety of tools, and all it's really cost me to repair is roll tape. Brand new.